right? The idea behind this build is that you don't need to play Bauble Street Wraith to enable the Moonshadow because one, they're not good with Bristlebane, whatever, and you also you play 7 cards to just rip the counters off of it, and so you're trying to kind of combo a little bit, powering it out some. Have I had time to test Fate Transfer? Okay, so another thing is, I think Fate Transfer is a card you only want to play with Bristlebane Battler. I hate the idea of having this card where the only thing I could use, I only have 4 cards that it goes with. So if I don't have one of those 4 cards in play and alive, it is just as blank. One thing that came up with Fate Transfer last night that I didn't like was my opponent, they cast Rumble on turn 2, and I had Fate Transfer in my hand and Moonshadow turn 1, but I couldn't just peel the counters off and kill the spawn token because they could sack in response. For a deck like this versus Affinities, I feel like it's an Autolus game 1 and hoping to draw. Did I play? I played recently with like a 7/7 Moonshadow on turn 2 against Affinity. My opponent's on a Multi 6 on the play. I think on the draw against a Mulligan, I'll keep this. Yeah, I mean, Affinity is very good against Fair Decks game 1. This is a big problemo. I am not playing a ton of Affinity hate either. This is partially because Affinity has just not been all that popular on Magic Online recently. They use Sprawl on green. Do I Thoughtseize to try to take K command? The Verdant Catacombs. Sprawl on green. Yeah, let's try to take K command. They don't have K command. They do have K return. So in this spot, are you taking Talisman to try to deny the Ice Till? I think it just makes more sense to take the Ice Till. Yeah, Vexing Bauble is quite good against Affinity, so that's one reason I like it. And then there's also been a lot of living end on Magic Online. Drew a Temple for turn, which is definitely a good draw. One thing I don't like about taking Talisman is that they drew Ugin's Labyrinth, that they just immediately could cast the Ice Till, which is kind of narrow. But looks like taking the Ice Till would have failed because they just go land here. Their hand is K Return and a World Breaker. So I'm kind of hoping to get him here. Ah, damn it. Just didn't hit a permanent. We only have that one Cleaning and Thoughtseizes, right? Oh, Fatal Push too. Okay, so I'm taking the Nissa, which will be able to find me more Moonshadows, I guess. So next turn I can go Nissa, Moonshadow, I Cling to Dust, the K return, unless they draw land to cast World Breaker. Although I wonder, they know I have Nissa, so they probably will exile a land instead of World Breaker. That would be my guess. There's no Street Wraith in this build. The idea is that with the 7 remove all counters cards from the deck, you, in theory, do not need to be playing Street Wraith and Vexing Bauble. And if you were going to play them, it's very tough to include. But if we did have it, yes, we would want to. Although then we wouldn't necessarily be able to clean the K return, which could be an issue. Interesting to see World Breaker. I feel like I haven't seen a lot of World Breaker out there. They're still choosing. They do go after my land, which I think is correct. So will I just play Nissa, or will I wait a turn and Cling to Dust? I draw another copy of Overlord. I think I should Cling to Dust. I think playing the Nissa and letting another 7 drop just like immediately win the game is probably unwise. I don't like that line because opponent responds with the Surveil on the stack, then you get blown out. That line is only possible. No, what are you talking about? I go crack fetch, counter on Moonshadow, and then I literally have no problems if they let the first trigger resolve. Or not no problems. I need to hit a permanent off the other surveil. I'm a little unsure where the confusion's coming from there, but I think you're a little confused. Well, unfortunately, they knew how many basics I have. Bummer. We do have a blocker now, though. I milled my other basic. Can't you just go over 60 with Street Wraith? It's like a free card if you don't mind losing health. This is a very common deck building misconception that no, they did not top deck K command. Why is it like this? Why do they always top deck K command? We have 3 basics we milled over in the 3rd one. All right, I'm gonna concede. What was it saying? Yeah, Street Wraith is not a free card to add. This is like a super common misconception for like newer deck builders that having Street Wraith in your deck is like, yeah, the plan is cut the Fatal Push, cut the Vexing Baubles for Break the Ice and Force of Vigor. It's not the same. It's not the same. When you have 4 Street Wraith in your deck, your mulligans are worse. Your mulligans are like you just don't know if you're keeping a good hand or not, which is a really significant downside to adding Street Wraith to your deck. It is not a free card. Maybe a winnable game if we had hit the permanent there. I guess I forgot that we also have maybe our permanent count is just it's lower than I thought. I forgot about the Patra's marks too. Still more likely to hit than miss. Cling is good. Do you think a Fairy Macabre would be better than Cling with the Overlords? No. No, like definitely not. The Cling cycles, baby. You get to draw a card, and this is the big problem with Golgari is that you struggle to like outgrind your opponents in the late game. So having this like card advantage in the late game is a really big deal. Having a 1-mana cantrip is really nice. It's just like wouldn't it be main deckable? We have Battlelord to Hexmage. Let's keep, even though it's another 5-lander here. Yeah, Moonshadow is a 1/1. So we crack the fetch. If they don't respond with Kate return, it's a 2/2. And then we get the Surveil trigger on the stack. And then if they don't respond to that and we hit a permanent, it's a 3/3. Maybe, I guess we don't need to go over it again. But it was totally fine to crack the fetch if we were just trying to hit we're trying to blow them out by finding a permanent off the second Surveil, which we were likely to do. My opponent is on a mulligan here. Wouldn't hate keeping a Force of Vigor on the Mold 5, but I'm also just kind of flooded here, and I think a card that is individually weak on the Mold 5 is going to be a problem. Although maybe would have been good against the Sprawl hand. So I guess what we want to do now is Impending Overlord and Vampire Hexmage it. Then we can return the Hexmage to get the Battler going, if potentially. There's another Hexmage here. Hopefully we can hit a 1-drop off of our Overlord next turn. They play a Temple. They think. Thinking is a really big tell that they have K command in their hand, maybe. Maybe it's thinking about what to get off Mycospawn. Yeah, this card seems insane and limited. Do they get a Ghost Quarter? So I guess they have an Ice Till in their hand. They've got an Upkeep Stop also. I'm going to go ahead and put the Hand Hider up, I think. Thankfully, we find a 1-drop. It is a Moonshadow. So if they have Imprintable plus another Imprintable, they could cast the whatever 7-drop they want. Looks like they don't. Will they play Ice Till double Ghost Quarter me? If they do, it goes my Moonshadow by a pretty big amount. I did just mill another basic, so they'll know if they double Ghost Quarter me that they will be able to. They will be able to Stone Raid me on the second one. So my Moonshadow is now a 3/3. I could make it a 7/7 with the Vampire Hexmage, or I could play Bristlebane Battler instead. And then try to Hexmage that next turn. I think that's probably what I'd prefer to do. Because this one is going to also grow off the Overlord attack. It's going to grow off the Verdant Catacombs, so I don't think it needs the help. We find a 4/5 Goyf. Let's see how they block, if they block at all. They choose no blocks. Pretty dang okay if my opponent just double Stone Rains me or triple Stone Rains me, because I don't really know how they're going to do that while advancing their board here, which they need to do. Wish Mutated Cultist was good. I'll take a read. An opponent casts, when you cast a spell, remove all counters from one permanent or opponent. The next spell this turn costs 1 less for each counter. Move this way. Ooh. What's that? Alchemy card? Oh, right. Well, I'm going to Vampire Hexmage this next turn. But you're right. You're right. I should have removed the counter. Unless they triple Stone Rain me, then I can't Vampire Hexmage. Maybe it matters. Okay, so they have a Bajuka Bog naturally to shrink my Goyf. Yeah, I know it's not legal. I just wanted to read it since it was a card I didn't know. They mill another Eldrazi Temple, a Ghost Quarter, and a Shifting Woodland. Then they rumble. They 100% should have rumbled before Ghost Quartering. They find Labyrinth double K return. Okay, so we're going to game 3. On the draw for game 3. Opponent did start playing faster once I put the hand hider up. So I'll keep it up, and then probably actually would need to have some Fatal Push. Yeah, the Hex transfer, free transfer is pretty bad against the spawn tokens. Maybe play 3 push and maybe 1. I probably want the marks. Maybe just play no clings. No cling is kind of good against K return though. Let's do 2 fatal push. Can probably cut the Nissa on the draw. Is Rolling Vortex sneaky good against Affinity? It's a lot worse than Vexing Bauble. The difference between 1 mana and 2 mana is pretty big. My opponent's mulliganing again. I think I should join them with, maybe if I had a fetch land instead of a Shifting Woodland, we could keep. All right, they keep 6, I keep 6. Everybody's happy. They lead on an Ugin's Labyrinth, an Emrakul, and a Talisman. Looks like pretty good turn 1. And now the upkeep and draw step have returned after I have commented on their absence. Or uncommented on my opponent playing faster. Don't know what that's about. So they rumble this turn. They hit a Mycospawn, a Sprawl, a Ghost Quarter, and a Basic Forest. They choose the Mycospawn. They play a Windswept Heath. They rumble again. This time they find Ice to Explorer, K return, Sprawl, which is really nuts. They take the Ice Till. So the unfortunately this turn 2 break the ice that I have access to is useless. Useless since they can just cast Ice Till. This is This is a big problem for the archetype, of course. The Moonshadow. Just the Golgari archetype in general is that like you're a good. This is exactly what I was saying when I was testing the deck last night. Is that you're just a good bit slower than Rakdos, and it's just so hard. Like the sideboard tools kind of just don't exist to make this matchup good. The break dice is gonna be better against Tron, but it is tough. Yeah, Urza Saga would save us here for sure, Aziz. It's gonna kick the Mycospawn here, maybe. Witherbloom command helps kill their talismans. Okay, buddy. The thing is, it's just the issue is my turn 2 Stone Raid on Ugin's Labyrinth is not very helpful. I like Witherbloom Command also is another problem here too. It's like I do love that y'all are like eternal optimists, the Golgari gamers, but we've got some issues here. Or third Vexing Bauble. I really like the Vexing Baubles. I think they help you a lot against Titan, Living End, and Affinity, which are all very tough matchups. My opponent has F6 through their first turn here. This is what I kept on the draw. For what it's worth, paper is 5 minutes for a game loss and 10 minutes for a match loss. Well, hold on. 5 minutes of inactivity in paper. How is that even possible? Because if a judge is watching you play, and they're not going to sit and they're never going to let you sit for 5 minutes and take no actions. They're always going to make you take an action first. Oh, 5 minutes for not showing up to your match, sure. It's a little bit different though, because on online you're just clicking you're clicking join match, and then in a minute or two the match has started. Yeah, they did just skip their turn 1. This is Spike's worst take. I mean, maybe there's something about this I'm missing, of course. But tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me what I'm missing about this. What is the problem with the clock, or the rope? And is there a middle ground between you hate it and you hate my thought and my point? Is there a middle ground too? Yeah, I agree. If you click the Q button, you should be here to play. If you know, and I don't know. To me, it feels very reasonable. But I certainly there could be an angle of this I'm not considering. If it was a free-to-play match, I'd agree, but you pay to play in League, so it feels strange. I suppose, but I don't understand how it's not very fair. But again, I definitely am the kind of guy that like I have my idea, and sometimes it's hard for me to consider other angles. So I'm trying to be open-minded, and I sincerely want to know if there's something I'm missing, but. Try resolving Doomsday in 2 minutes about would say. Yeah, you don't hear me. You just want to dance, maybe, but that's fine. What I said was, I don't want Arena's version of the rope. I want if you take no game actions for I probably want to crack this because they've got explosives on 1 and that grows the Goyf. What I want is if you take no game actions for 2 minutes and you are connected to the client, I want you to get a game loss or just lose the match. If you're clicking on the client, that is totally okay with me. Oh wait, sorry, stupid Torment script. Now I've been monologuing and I'm losing the Urza Saga. I don't want the Arena's version of the rope. How long does it take you to use the bathroom? What if it's a poop? Imagine you're closer to 40 and double it. If this is greater or less than 10 minutes. Okay, so the bathroom is an angle we could discuss. I don't know. So one thing is maybe this would be a pain, but would it be reasonable to close the client and then go to the bathroom? I don't know. Well, the explosive's on 0. Okay, so we can make a 6/6 Brittlebane Battler and 2/1/2 Goyfs. The 6/6 is too small, and they're going to make another hasty saga token and kill me. I guess the plan is going to, like, they make another saga token, they haste it, and I just steal the game with a 6/6 battler. As if there's no functionalities, ask for pauses in offline games and chat this. I mean, we don't need to be mean, of course, but that is true. Pausing in online games is usually not much of a thing. All right, down a game. Game action is not the same as passing priority. Okay, well, if you are clicking something on the screen, you're passing priority, you're clicking a land, all this is fine as long as you're here and playing. I don't want anyone to time out. And I kind of don't know why anyone would assume that that's the suggestion either. Probably do want a couple break the ice. Let's leave in the fate transfers. Let's get the Nissa. Let's get the clings. Probably want to cut a Hapatra's mark since we're not going to get any value against their removal, really. I think I'll trim a woodland, which is a little bit weird, but I think we can't afford to go down a land. Maybe we're playing too many lands. They have an auto concede though. You have an activity timer. Yes, and I'm saying that the inactivity timer can be improved for the overall quality of the player experience. Is yes, there's a 10-minute inactivity timer that honestly people abuse a little bit, right? Like, not again, it's not a super serious thing that's happening here. At the end of the day, my opponent took a few minutes to come to a match of Magic. Let's be realistic what we're talking about. But can the overall experience be improved? I think so. I think if you hit, I think it's reasonable to, if you click join match, that you're still here within the next 4 minutes, you know? And I feel like what I'm saying is not the most controversial thing I've said on the stream, or the least. Okay, so I want to be able to fate transfer, kill the Imri. They've got an Explosives, a Bauble, and a Lava Spur Boots in the yard now. Spacey with the 8 months. Thank you. Welcome back. Appreciate you. I pray on my knees for the day I open the YouTube and see Sage of Hours, Hardened Scales. Me too, man. Sounds so sick. But you're not measuring the still here, right? You're measuring from clicking the button to resolving first mulligan. Clicking the button to resolving the first mulligan. Yeah, I think 2 minutes to resolve your first mulligan is super reasonable. I think that's more time than a judge would give you in paper. All right, I would like to take all of my +1 counters from Bristlebane Battler and put them on your Imri, please. And, you know, potentially there's more of a... You think we could have gone for 1 damage? Yeah, maybe. I think in paper you'll have 3. That seems more than I would expect. But if it's 3, let's do 3. Let's do 3 if it's 3. Like, what is it? What's allowed in paper? Another thing in paper too is, you know, you do have to do your manual shuffling, which like that also reduces like 90, maybe not 90% of the time, 80%, 70%. Something to consider too. This did feel really cool. Fate transfer onto Imri. Maybe fate transfer could it be better than Hapatra's mark? Certainly in some numbers. They played the explosives on 1 instead of 0, which might have been a mistake. But I'm just gonna go ahead and go kill this, kill this. All right, go to game 3. There's no designated time for reasonable mulligan shuffling. Okay. Ridley, 20 months. Taking a break from Magic, but popping into support. Love Lauren's been fun. Nice. Good to see you in chat. Glad you're still popping in. Looking forward to hearing from you every once in a while. Well, definitely keeping this. So I think I want to actually lead on the Battler because of the Ward 2 against the Aether Spellbomb, maybe. Although maybe I'll be able to Force of Vigor the Aether Spellbomb. But pitching the mark. Now I don't really want to Force right now, because if I do that, then although I would have played around Imri kind of good, I guess. Yeah, let's go and do this now. If they replay the spell bomb, that's going to be okay. We could do the fate transfer thing again. Your most reasonable take I've heard people immediately take contrary view. I mean, that's okay. I mean, I think it's nice that we have a experience of this channel where people can disagree and civilly argue about this stuff. And it is legitimately something about my personality that I can fail. Okay, nice. I didn't read the card. I can fail to like look at other sides of the coin sometimes. Sometimes or not maybe not look at it. I just don't even see it. I don't even see the other side. So I really do try to listen and understand what the other argument it is. And sometimes I'll agree and sometimes I'll disagree. Okay, my opponent reveals Karuga. I guess we'll keep like this will be able to hit Helga Omnath. The mark should be pretty good. Dota has confirmed match after you search for one. Maybe that would help. Maybe. I mean, I just think it's pretty reasonable to expect you to not to just be aware enough that the match has started. But maybe that's my above 20 attention span. Is Hapatra good or bad? Let's find out in this Twitch stream. I think I'm going to surveil before Thoughtseize. I already have an Overlord. This grows the Goyf pretty large. Actually, this kind of grows the Goyf big enough that if they have a binding, they'll binding in combat here. So I'll want to be able to save it with a Hapatra's Mark. And grow the Goyf. How close are we to a Golgari ward shell? Well, all the threats have ward. It's just really annoying. Very far away. There are very few modern legal cards with ward. There are probably, I would guess, under 20. Or at least ward pay mana. There's more like ward discard a card, stuff like that. But like ward pay mana is probably under 20. Ward, in general, maybe under 40. And of these that are playable in modern, very, very few. Kind of tough to not play the Battler here. Yeah, let's go play the Battler this turn. The next turn we can go Thoughtseize plus Mark, maybe. Let's check. Yeah, there is Kappakin in here. Which is definitely the kind of card they design, you design before. You design before. You really know how good ward is. All right, so 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's 127. This is way more than I thought. Okay, though this one's not a ward card. Just yeah, this is I guess yeah, this is where's the WARD here? Is the hate part of Vexing Bauble often relevant? Yeah, comes up a lot. Oh, alternate printing show up? Okay. So maybe I'm underestimating, although again, a lot of these are really clunky. Oh, my opponent's still thinking on this. Great. Yeah, I saw the Stormlight. Stormlight's gonna get a it's probably gonna be a TV show, not a movie, right? I don't think they could do it in the movie. Looks like 52. Okay, more than I thought. But I guess as far as ward paid mana, it's probably still pretty low. Well, although I guess it's kind of easy to forget about. Aegis Sculptor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, more commons than uncommons than I realized. Mistborn movie, Stormlight TV show. Yeah, I haven't read Mistborn yet. Stormlight needs to be animated really bad. Let me see if I agree. I think the Spren definitely would do a lot better animated. In Stormlight the Spren are little spirits. Everything has got its own little spirit, and they're really annoying, and they're all over the place all the time. So it's our upkeep now. My opponent's got to stop on our upkeep that's been added. 87 creature war payment. It's a lot more than I thought, but also in my mental data banks, these get deleted pretty quick. Ward is good though. I like that they're printing more cards with Ward. I almost built the Dragonfly Swarm deck, the Avatar set. Would love to see more Ward. Mistborn's good. Sandy's female characters can feel really samey, which your main character can be annoying at times. So they Force of Negation pitching Helga. And they didn't play Helga. And this is kind of the problem with Mark, right? Is can we go for it here? I think we probably just can't. We know our opponent has interaction. They didn't play Helga. Or they couldn't play Helga. They couldn't play Helga. Yeah, I don't really feel like I super agree on that point, but I think it's a valid way to come away from Brandy's work. So do I go for it? I mean, they would have to really have third Leyline Binding. I'm gonna go for it, I think. Shalin and Vin are like the same person. I think that's kind of the point. And also Shalin is like, at least where I'm in the book, her whole thing is that I don't want to say too much, but she's like literally many different people. And she's having a big identity crisis. I don't know. It's okay. I think it's fine to come through. Definitely don't like how fast they played that Solitude after... I don't know. I mean, am I being too aggressive with the hand hider? Maybe, but I really don't like how fast they played that Solitude after taking every other decision so slow here. They play a Scion. The Scion's kind of tough to deal with. I might just cling to this to gain life. Because I'm going to hardcast the Overlord next turn probably. So let's see what they do this turn. Karuga in hand. Yeah, weird to gain life in this matchup, but I think I need the life to just buy a whole extra turn against the Scion here. So I grab a Nethergoyf with the first Overlord trigger here. They've got a Karuga, and they've got two other cards in their hand that are both spells. They play a basic plane, so now Helga is castable if that's one of those cards that's stuck. Same thing with Omnath. And then the problem is both of those cards are going to be hexproof because of the Scion. So the Fatal Push that we know about is offline. And then the Helga or the Karuga gets cast by the Helga. It's going to be very tough to beat. So we grab another Goyf. I'm going to play a Vexing Bauble. And two Goyfs here. Yeah, I know everybody says Oathbringer gets so good. I'll say Name of the Wind is one of the best books I've ever read, and I'm just going to finish this book and the next book before anything else for sure. And there's like no chance I put it down, but maybe I'll come back to Oathbringer after. All right, dead. All right, so we need Force of Vigors for Leyline Scion. It's a little bit weird with the Vexing Baubles, but maybe okay. think I want to go down to like 2 Fatal Push. Killing Helga's pretty good. We have the Fate Transfer too. I think playing on Patron of Patches would be way better. I think it's a little bit like maybe, but like this is a matchup where they have a lot of inevitability. Like, are we are like they did have the Solitude and the white card, and we ended up being a 2-for-2 instead, and we were able to hardcast the Overlord. But if we just didn't cast the Hapatra's Mark, they're not going to cast the Solitude. That's the problem with that's the problem I have with this deck so far. Is there's not really any reason for them to cast Solitude if I'm just attacking them with a 1/1. They're just not gonna do it. And then you never cast the Patra's Mark, you hold up the mana forever, it becomes super telegraphed, and when you do go for it, they're gonna get you anyways, or they're just gonna cast their own threats, and it's tough. It's tough. So not that I necessarily made the right choice in that game, but this is the issue that I've been finding. And like when your opponent does cast the removal spell, it's like you go crazy, but I don't know. It also becomes like a pretty face-up trick too. Yeah, you have 4 Thoughtseize. Oh, the Thoughtseize is in to some extent the Vexing Baubles. They are part of. They do help some of the problem. You could draw a second marker of Thoughtseize. That's true, but then your 2-card plan becomes 3, and also like I didn't have it there. You know, we're talking about last game. We could have drawn it, but are we waiting to draw a Thoughtseize or a second mark or a Hexmage, and we're waiting to do it while we just do nothing? Like it sucks, you know. It's really tough, but not that I'm not saying that makes the plan unplayable, but this I think we can agree that this is at least a problem with the plan. Got to graveyard that, unfortunately. Just saying it's best to play that hand defensively rather than offensively. You might be right. You might be right. Although I think that you could agree, like the issue of like if they don't have Solitude white card and their hand is like Omnath and they just play Omnath next turn and I just didn't deal 6 damage and then I have Patch's Mark and I attack for 6 and they just have Omnath in play, like that, like could I just have like, some chatters going, you should have played it aggressively, they only had 3 cards in their hand. You only had 3 cards in their head. You should have cast the Patra's Mark. You know, I totally foresee that being a timeline. So I don't want to. You could also just be totally right, but that's my issue. Though look at this, we get to Fate Transfer. Fate Transfer has been the banger so far. They might have Force of Negation. Yeah, that's fair too. They forced the Thoughtseize, so it's clear they had interaction. Yeah, I think that's totally valid. Although they might have forced because they had Omnath and they couldn't cast Helga. You know, like is that impossible? Maybe I'm just wrong too. Big bummer on the Force of Negation here. They got 2 cards in their hand here. Play another Battler. It's about 11 life. They're at 16. They put Karuga into their hand. Then they play a Windswept Heath. They pass. Hopefully they don't have a second binding here. Looks like we get the attack off. I'm gonna take the Battler because it's like, oh, I can cast with this mana, and then maybe this is a little bit worse than. No, I think I just cast it here, even if it's not amazing. And we also have the ability to woodland a like another Overlord potentially next turn. Don't think you're gonna get to just natty remove the counters this well that often. But nice though you can sometimes. So they've got Karuga and then 3 mystery cards. Has the Overlord Moonshadow interaction popped off yet? Well, I guess that interaction's not. You only get one permanent off the one counter off the Overlord. You only get one counter move per time you mill a permanent. So it hasn't been like particularly crazy. So if they have a fetch land, they can play Karuga and draw 3 cards. They don't have it. Okay, they do have. Okay, I don't know. Is there any way they don't have it if they're making this attack? But why would they? I don't know why they would attack first. Because I guess they don't. Hmm. Didn't think much about endurance here. Although maybe it's okay because of the Overlord. Yeah, that's probably okay. I have to kill them this turn. So if I went for the woodland, I would have lost to the endurance. Is this Amonkhet or Hour of Devastation? I remember my first ever Pro Tour. I killed Ari Lax to 3-0 my draft pod. I killed him with a I killed him with a 1-mana instant. That was a 1-mana green instant. I had 1 card in my hand. I had 1 green mana up. His board was crazy. He said, "Well, the only way I lose is if you have the 1-mana black instant." This is Amonkhet. Okay, I think this wasn't the card then. But I don't know. For some reason, it's the same block. I just was getting flashbacks. Okay, we're going to game 3. Okay, game 3 on the draw. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure I went to Pro Tour Hour of Devastation, not Amonkhet. That's my first Pro Tour. It was the one with Aetherworks Marvel. I played Aetherworks Marvel with Elder Deep Fiends, which was really good with K Return against the zombie metagame. Because you could also it was also good in the mirror too. I really like that build. We can keep the hand header off. I don't know. Did Moto shut down? We're playing Moto right now. So I want them to play the binding really badly. So I guess I'll take the Helga. Was the 1 mana? It was a 1 mana green spell. I think it was like 1 mana. Yeah, Shed Weakness. Yeah. This is it. I 3-0'd my first Pro Tour draft pod just because this was my last card. I had 1 mana green up and Arilex. Honestly, I think could have won that game really easy if he played around it, but it's hard to play around. I don't know. Maybe we do. I guess we do want the hand hider against someone who's just gonna like play this slow with nothing going on. I don't know. Although maybe my hand is pretty. I don't know. Whatever. So the hand is Leyline Binding, Flooded Strand, 3. Okay, now no Flooded Strand. Now 3 mystery cards. The Scander became a a mod here. No VIP slots left. Congrats on the 1,000,000 channel points. So they don't have Force of Negation up, and they've got Karuga, so this should be fine. Pretty big blowout. Let's grab the Goyf, I guess. Could try to get Hexmage just and bank on getting something to scam with it. It probably doesn't make the most sense. I could also like Woodland Hexmage next turn, maybe. It's kind of interesting. Buy a mod already. What do with other 1,000,000 channel points? You pay your taxes. We're up 10 minutes on the clock here. There are no known cards in our opponent's hand. Woodland can be Battler. That's true. Yeah, I also forgot that Woodland on Battler and Moonshadow is just really good because they just don't have the counters on them. Deputy King also the 1,000,000 channel points. Could also maybe take the book argument to the DMs or something. Seems to have gone on a little long here. So goodbye to my Overlord. Get to gain a bunch of life. All right, mods. Mods. So we force a double block on the Nethergoyf. I guess they could double block the Battler too if they want. This does mean they don't get to keep a creature though. So they gain 3, they take 5. We kind of have sneaky 2 lethal attackers with either it was just, I guess not that sneaky, the Woodland on Battler or Hexmage or Overlord. Although we probably wouldn't want to do Hexmage, but we technically could Hexmage or Overlord. Sorry, it's making a support topic. It's okay. I know I've argued on the internet before. I kind of do that for a living. But it's just, we're gotta clean up the chat a little bit. So we're pretty cold to endurance. It's mostly it. Oh, fun. I drew Thoughtseize, so I could still, if the endurance, I could now Shifting Woodland Hexmage to go after the Overlord. And if it's Solitude, I can do the same thing and still present 2 lethal attackers. Nice. So we want to copy this first. This way the Woodland can go into the yard for the Goyf. And so we're going to have at least 2 types in the yard. Since we'll have the Thoughtseize and the Woodland. And they have to chump block the Overlord anyways. But if we mill 3 different types with Overlord, we have lethal this turn. But they just concede, despite being pretty live to drawing a Solitude. Very long match. We're at 2-1. We're at 2-1. I can keep this. Would love if this was an untapped land. Seems fine to keep. So we could go next turn maybe Moonshadow with markup and then like cast Thoughtseize to force some interaction if they're playing interaction. You could also play Battler instead, maybe. Could also go maybe what I like is maybe I like Moonshadow fetch Thoughtseize and then we could maybe let this grow and then mark the Battler. But if they're playing the Affinity build, they're not super likely to have a lot of interaction. Okay. They're not playing Affinity, which is definitely the more common deck. Fair enough. So we'll take the trainer here. Flare the Moonshadow feels good at least. They've got main deck Brotherhood End. Which I guess I'm supposed to try to get them to just cast that, and then I blow them out with the mark, right? So hopefully they're looking for the land for the Brotherhood End. I imagine they're looking for land. Possibly looking for love. They don't cast it though. I just listen. Maybe my dear sweet Twitch chatters. Oh, sorry, I should have surveilled after the Overlord impending, huh? Maybe my dear sweet Twitch chatters. Maybe your opponents play into Mark. It hasn't happened once yet. Don't want to cast now because they just have Bolter Heat, right? You blink to Binding. Well, it was on a Goyf though. We haven't done the thing, you know. We did give protect. We also blanked to Binding because we were Thoughtseize. We had Thoughtseize on the stack too, right? Oh no, we didn't. We just made a big Goyf, but we haven't done the thing with Mark yet. Why don't we cast it now? Because they could have Bolt for 1 mana. Maybe I should have cast it while they were tapped down to 1. They also didn't draw 2 with the Flame. Yeah, so I should have done on the responsive Surveil. I think the mistake here was letting them hold up Flame, since that's reasonable for them to do from perspective. Maybe. This is exactly what I'm saying though. It's like I'm literally damned if I do, damned if I don't. There's a problem with the mark no matter how I take the line. This is the point I'm trying to illustrate. Is no matter what I do with mark, there's always a problem with it. Either they play around it, and it's bad because I just have a 1/1 that they've been playing around, or they don't play around it, and either they play around the mark or I play into their hand. There's just a weird tension here always, and no matter which line we choose, there's always a downside. There's not always a clearly right play, and no matter which direction I choose, like this time I chose to play passive, chat tells me I'm wrong. Last time I chose to play aggressive, chat tells me I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong both times, but there's an issue here. It seems like you don't have a clucky ways when you push it. Yeah, maybe. I'm just saying I took 2 different lines and chat told me I was wrong both times, and I don't know what's right. I'm trying to figure it out. It does feel like I should be able to play the Moonshadow, right? I guess I lose if their 1 mystery card is Unholy Heat. Yeah, I think it's okay. We'll just save it. We don't want to play it into the Wrath, I guess. But I was thinking it was okay to play into Wrath because if they Wrath, they just still died to the farmer. It's hard to make good because we play black cards. Very valid. Right, in this situation was odd. You could have played the Kithkin and mark on turn 3 on my turn. What was the downside of the play? Well, the downside was I wouldn't get a crazy time walk blowout, right? That like I just have a creature in play that dies to Brotherhood End. It's as Ward 2, so they have Brotherhood End in their hand. I would think that my opponent would be jumping at the chance to kill the Ward 2 creature before it got big with Brotherhood End. So I would still have the same power toughness if they cast the Brotherhood End, but I would have and also tie blocked them and made them discard a card. I thought that was really exciting and good, and I thought that my opponent would have almost always cast the Brotherhood End if they hit the 3rd land, and they did hit the 3rd land, and they just didn't. They just did nothing. So, and they could afford to do nothing because the farmer is a 1/1. That's the big thing is our opponents can afford to do nothing because the farmer is a 1/1. Compare this to Moonshadow. Moonshadow is a card that's getting big without the mark. And Moonshadow makes them use something instead of the farmer. So maybe we could still play Golgari or Green Black X with Hapatra's Mark as a smaller part of this, right? But having it be a big part of our plan with the farmer, this has been an issue. We are winning this league too, so maybe it's not the biggest issue ever, but this is the point I'm trying to highlight. Okay, so I think I'm going to cut the Fate Transfer, and I think I want three fatal push? Yeah, 3. Probably get to cut a land on the draw. Yeah, Hexmage has been really good. I kind of see more Fate Transfer in action. Maybe cut. Sorry, 2 Vexing Bauble and 2 more. I feel like the Vexing Baubles are kind of load. Actually, if I cut one here though. I feel like the Vexing Baubles are kind of load bearing. I feel our matchups against Titan and Living End and Neoform, which are all decks I think are kind of popular, all become much worse. But maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe we don't need them. Orcish Bowmaster for Hexmage can actually go Bristlebane. Well, the Hexmages are really important because they scam the Overlords in addition to scamming our other cards. They've been good. If they're not expecting a trick, they're all expecting you to play more creatures board. Yeah, that might be happening too. And again, they can't. The main point I keep trying to make is, and I'm probably doing a bad job of it, is they just can't afford to wait with this plan. So, but that doesn't mean Hapatra's Mark can't be good in a more Golgari build. It doesn't mean that this build is bad either, but it is a seemingly a big problem with this version. Yeah, Hexmages have some extra utility too. Not a lot. All right, time walk them. A little bit scared of Blood Moon, but I do want to try to save my fetch land for Nissa. All right, so we'll play the Battler this turn and the Shifting Woodland, and then next turn we can go Nissa, fetch land, play Moonshadow and Hexmage, and scam this. I think it makes sense to switch the thought process of Mark from an instant blowout to an aura that gives +6 or 6 or something. I mean, I know, isn't the whole conversation tree we're having is that it can be both, but no matter which direction you choose, there's a problem. That was at least the what I was trying to say. Just gotta play the Nissa before the fetch land here, I think. Shouldn't you have held up push? No, I need to play this Shifting Woodland so that my Nissa can get a Moonshadow for me. Spike, I think your current build is a bit too fair. I'm going to tell you this exact comment has never once been helpful to any Magic streamer or any deck. A bit too fair is not. Do I need to click play? TZ, I all day I've been telling. Oh, wait, sorry, hold on. Sorry, I think I confused you with someone else. But also, this is a bit too fair is not ever good feedback on a deck. You could have played Woodland and held up Tomb for push Mark. Oh, I see. Yes, I should have done that. So they didn't think Nissa was worth countering. Does this mean they have? Does this mean they have Brother's Hood in? I guess we probably play around it. And then next turn we can go. If they don't play, we can go double Moonshadow to get this to 4/4. Yeah, calling a deck too fair does not mean anything. There are decks in Magic that are mid-range, aggro, controlled. Those decks are fair decks, and then there are decks that are, big man and combo. Those are unfair decks. You could just say your deck sucks, and I would prefer to hear that than this deck is too fair. Too fair just it does not mean anything to me. So they could have tapped my Nissa. I guess they could just block it. The argument is the card can be both those problems, both scenario. Your point is opponent has too much time because you're damned if either way. But my point is, the first instance you can resolve the spell, you should pull the trigger for the pump. Yeah, yeah, and you might be right, but the real, no, actually, I think the answer is it does depend. Sometimes you should play slowly, sometimes you should play more aggressively, and it's very hard to know which. Actually, I think we could probably agree that that's the case. Okay, so here I don't have Delirium. Where are they discharge? It's a little bit better than Lightning Bolt, if you don't care much about going face. Because you just get to store the energy. Alright, so grows the Moonshadow. But I do think you can transform that this deck is too fair criticism into this is an aspect of the deck I think is weak and here's a way to improve it. Or Spike, I think this deck fucking sucks. I'm gonna go watch somebody else. I think that there is a more positive way we can frame the feedback. That being said, we are 3-1. Let's go ahead and get in there. I'm gonna get a 4-1 prediction going. All right, on the draw against the Volta 6. On the draw against Boros, what could we have done to prevent this? Oh, we drew a Thoughtseize. We're fine now. Why can't I just be on the play against Boros? All right, go. I'll take this. Gotta take the moon. They flip over a Shifting Woodland. It'd be funny to go 4-1 with chat non-stop complaining deck sucks. Yeah, I know. So we have to play the Overlord because of the Hexmage. I mean, I also don't think the deck is very good, but that doesn't mean you can't win with a suboptimal deck. And there are definitely things to like about this build, and finding the right balance is tough. But there's just some issues. Yeah, I agree Hexmage has been so good. Mark could be a one of that sometimes lets blow out. Yeah, maybe. I could see going down. Another thing too is I do think that you could play Green Black X Moonshadow with Mark. I think Mark is much better with Moonshadow than it is with Battler, because your opponent they have to target the Moonshadow with removal if they have it, because it's getting too big by itself. And so this is a nice protection for that also kind of incidentally grows it. Sometimes gives you some faster like plans and stuff. So like I don't think that there's not anything to that either. This next turn, if I draw a land, let's see what they hit here. They hit a Marsh Flats. If I draw, I guess, a green source specifically, Battler with markup seems really good against the Galvanic Discharge. Although now they've played it in Ajani. And then they discharge the Ajani. So I really want to Hexmage the Ajani, but they just have a blocker. Or sorry, Hexmage the Overlord to kill the Ajani, but they just have the blocker. If I Hexmage the Ajani itself, I'm just too far behind on board. So we're probably dead. Maybe on the play we would have gotten there. If I play the Hexmage, I Hexmage the Overlord. They have enough. They use the discharge, but they block. They hit me for 2 down to 6. They hit me for 2 more down to 4. They flage me down to 1. And then maybe I can kill the Ajani next turn. Don't know if it's likely gonna be enough to win, but I think we're just gonna go here. Yeah, I do think that there is stuff to like about this deck. There is room for improvement. They have Flage that. Well, they have 2 other cards in their hand. Yeah, Hexmage can kill Planeswalkers, but if we just Hexmage the Johnny, I don't know that we're in a better shape. So now they discard the Flage. They Johnny me down to 4. They Ragavan me down to 2. Yeah, you're gonna lose. One aspect of brewing is you're testing different cards and powerful interactions. Seems unfair to crap on deck when you're learning and working a sort of point. Yeah, I agree. I don't know if you feel like I've been doing too much of the crapping, but that is what we do here. We try to figure it out. Maybe if I drew like exactly Swamp, and I could go Hexmage, Cling. No, we're still probably dead. And then like it's just good to figure out how good this is and figure out where we can adapt it. But to me, I'm kind of thinking I haven't loved the battlers, but I haven't hated the marks. But maybe this just but mark is a really light splash, and it's I don't know that I don't know. The battlers haven't been awful, I guess. Okay, so I want the Trespassers and I want the hexes. And then I want to cut the Vexing Baubles. I was thinking I wanted to cut a Hexmage in this matchup. Maybe I don't want to do that. I guess I don't have enough green cards for Force. It's actually they're playing Blood Moon. They're playing Blood Moon, and I actually have a 12, but yeah, let's do this and also cut the Thoughtseizes. Is this maybe too bad with Moonshadow? Because I don't have any sorceries or artifacts now. Or sorry, not Moonshadow, with Nethergoyf. It's probably okay. Curious about Battlelord Bowmasters. Yeah, I mean, those two could play kind of well together. Also, Springheart and Tuco. Well, let's keep this on the play. Are there any other benefits to mark? Are the two creatures worth it? Well, it's also just a protection spell for your other creatures. Like we protected against we protected against a Leyline Binding on a Goyf earlier. 2 Goyf, 2 Seas. You could do that or something along those lines. I think the Goyfs are still fine. You still have land, instant, creature enchantments, and like how the Goyfs can get up to 4/5s, and they don't need to be the biggest ever. If you're playing Golgari Moonshadow with Hapatra's Mark, why not play Snakeskin Veil, which also grows the shadow, albeit by 1, but also grows other things? I mean, the upside of appealing a ton of counters are really high, but I mean, also in this deck, isn't it clear that we're also just testing this Bristlebane Battler? Maybe you're just asking in general. But the answer is we're testing Battler also, which definitely needs the mark. Hapatra's Mark doing the thing. It's been good. I think that it has been good, but it's been very hard to play. Like even in, like I maybe I'm even just being too negative, but like we're 3-3-1. Hapatra's Mark has been a good tool, I think, but it does feel like every time we choose to be active or passive, we choose the wrong one. One new awkward thing with this board is I kind of want to have Hapatra's Mark this one, so I have a 2/2 to block the Pride, which means I'm not able to get aggressive here. So I think that now it makes sense to just chill, try to block, and then maybe I can play around Galvanic Discharge this turn and get a big blowout. I like Bowmaster plus Call of the Death Dwellers for this type of list. It's a strong combo, very useful versus Riddler decks and X1 Zaboros. I love Golgari players. I love all of you. Ward 2 pretty good. I'm just going to go ahead and main phase the Force on Bombardment, I guess, and attack for 6. The Goblins didn't go very well today. I'm saying in general response to your point about playing Mark in a Moonshadow deck. I think I would still play Mark, but at the very least, like it's pretty minor. I think there is big upside with Mark in the Moonshadow deck though. Goblins is showing on Moxfield. Let me see. Maybe I didn't add the it to the extension. Collect this fetch a minute ago. How has Mark been? I think it's been solid to good. Specifically with Bristlebane Battler, there seems to be a lot of issues with trying to get aggressive with it versus being reactive. And it's maybe it's just also because the ward on the card makes it hard for people to like try to play into it. But your opponent can just ignore the Battler if you don't mark it. They can just ignore the Battler if you don't mark it. Because it's just a 1/1 that has a hard time growing. No, don't add the rope spike. Don't do it. Think of the Boros players who get up and leave mid-match. Thus revisiting Souls of the Lost. I did kind of like that card. Could look at it. That's why adding more Fate Transfer seems good. Yeah, Fate Transfer has been good, although we have only played against creature decks. I played against like Eldrazi. We did also play Eldrazi Red One, but I played against Eldrazi last night. And I had Fate Transfer. They went Rumble on turn 2, and I had Fate Transfer, and it did nothing. And then I had Fate Transfer against Storm, and it did nothing. And so we've been playing creature decks, so it's been looking better. And it is really good against creatures. It's so cool. But yeah, I think you could play a second one. I mean, here, just look at the hand. I don't know. Just look. It doesn't matter. The issue with Guide is you're more reliant on the graveyard. Yeah. Thoughts on this Boros combo deck, trying to figure it out. Is this the Mikatek one? I forgot about the Boros Mikatek build that someone sent, and I'm gonna try to work on it tonight, I think. Alright, what am I looking at here? This Boros combo deck. So you Feldar Guardian your Cursed Mirror. That's not it. Oh, you with a Johnny's Welcome? Okay, let's play Guide of Souls instead of Johnny's Welcome. That'll be $50 for my pro modern advice. Day, whatever, reminding you of Vibrant Nykthos. I tried to build it last night. It did not go very well. It's a lot of cats. A lot of cats. We should... I don't really get the cats. One big problem with this deck, too. Here's a big problem with this deck. The big problem. You're a Boros Goblin Bombardment, a Johnny deck. Your combo gains infinite life sometimes on turn 4, unless there's another combo. I guess you have Goblin Bombardment. What am I missing? What is the combo really just infinite life with a Johnny's Welcome? Yeah, Kahira's not worth it. But you despite having this combo, you're just much slower than Boros Energy. And you don't need to gain infinite life, you just need to gain like the 10, 20 passive life Boros Energy gains. I've been testing 2 versions. Honestly, losing the ring is very bad. Yeah, I agree. I could not. I looked through all of my devotion builds and tried to look at adding vibrance, and they all looked really bad and like worse than the Badger Bowl deck. This deck should have Mikatek. Yeah, I guess while my Boros opponent, who is loving that there's no rope on Magic Online. Let's see. There was a really cool list someone sent on Friday that I liked. And I forgot about it until midstream today. I wanted to make a bunch of changes, but it was a really cool Mikatek build. It has access to Kiki combo. So you have Feldar Guardian, and I got reminded because of Feldar Guardian. But you have access to Mikatek for Recruiter to get Feldar Guardian, Blink Mikatek, get Kiki Jiki. And then you also can like value put in Witch Enchanter, value put in Solitude, value put in Seasoned Pyromancer. Now I would want to add, I also have Karmic Guide as a tutor target for value. I would want to add Pinnacle Monk, more Pinnacle Monks, more Witch Enchanters. But I thought that this was a pretty cool shell that I wanted to mess with. I don't know. I unfortunately forgot about it. Okay, my opponent's back after 7 minutes. No, we can't have the rope on Magic Online. There's got to be a better way to do this. I don't know. There's just got to be a better way than this. You already have 2/3 color splash for Saheeli. See, Saheeli is really, really weak. I don't think there's a lot of a reason to play it. This is just the Boros experience. They leave for 7 minutes. They come back. They play land a Johnny Bombardment and kill you. This is just the Magic Online Boros experience, unfortunately. Although, I guess I don't know if the Pride attack was good. I don't know. How does Kiki kill? Oh, with Feldar Guardian. Just dead. Very frustrating. Okay, so we 3-2 this league. Do you want to mess with the Boros deck now, or do we want to play Cub? Let's play Cub. I'll mess with the Boros deck off stream, but then I'll get a version of this that looks better, and we'll play it on stream tomorrow. So this is the one.